In addition to being able to change the stroke and fill attributes of any kind of SVG object that you might have downloaded and opened in Inkscape, you can actually also very easily change the shape of the object as well. So I'm just going to zoom in on this bottom part of this violin here. And let's just say that I want a little bit more control over the shape of any of the objects in this composition. The tool that you need in this case is the second one down the list, and it's a little arrow pointing to these dots. And it's called the Edit Paths by Nodes tool. Now, the first thing you need to know is that anytime you hover over a path, if you look very closely, you get this little red preview. So as I hover over this outside path, you get this little red line that pops up. And you can click any of these paths, and what you'll see, number one, these two long lines, which are a little confusing, are just the lines for this gradient. So I can actually also edit this gradient. That's this gradient that comes in from this pink to this orange. But right now I'm not really worried about that. What I want you to see is these little black squares, or these little empty squares that become red when I hover over them with this tool. These are called nodes. And these are the little points that have been clicked in order to create this path. And because these paths are curved, each node has two handles. So if, for example, we look at this small node, the node is the point where somebody clicked in order to draw this shape, and then they dragged out these handles to define the way that it would curve between this node and the next one. So the first thing that you can do is you can just click one of these actual nodes and you can drag it. And notice now that this is only moving this one particular node. And if you drag one of these corner handles, that's going to change the way that the curve looks. And you can actually drag it like this. And I don't really like the way this is kind of curving a little sharply. So here we've got another node, and if I take this node's handle, which is way down here, then you'll see that things get a little bit smoother. And you could go through and you could move the position and change the handles for any of these nodes in this whole image. Do something like that, for example. And so if there's something about a particular image that you don't like, you can just use this tool to go through and just slightly tweak the way that these shapes look. And you can move things around like this. And you can really do anything you want. So in this particular example, for the 3D effect of this violin, I don't think it works really well to have this big black space on this side, because we've got this black space over here, and that looks fine, but it doesn't make sense to have it on this side as well. So what I could do then is I could select this outside path, and here we have a node. And I could just drag that right in like this. And I could take this one and just drag that out a little bit, like so. I could just drag this point sort of out like this. And now if we start zooming out, you see we start to get a little bit more of a 3D effect. So again, I'm just going to take this one and move it in. And I'm going to take this one and move it in as well. And so now what we start getting is a little bit more of a realistic effect. It's still nice and kind of expressive, but I think it looks a little bit more credible. And so that's the kind of thing that you can do very easily by just selecting this tool and slightly tweaking the little nodes that have been used to create the shapes that you're working with.